Let's see. Hang on. Oh, it is on. What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Hush. I'm here for a review. As you can see, I'm hanging out in the secret lair. I'm doing a review tonight. This is for the YouTube comic community tag event. Our boy TyloxTheMighty put this thing on, and very thankful to be a part of it. So I'm actually reviewing Batman issue number 618. I know what you're thinking. Like, why is Hush wearing a t-shirt? Where's the trench coat? Hey, look, when I'm lounging in my house, I don't walk around wearing a trench coat, okay? So that's the reason for the t-shirt. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with this thing. Super excited to be a part of it. Now, when I did not have the book when I was asked to do this. So I bought the trade paperback, and it was really interesting to go through this, kind of like binge watching a show. You know, when you go through and you have to wait a week or a month or whatever to read a comic book, it's a lot different than being able to read it straight through. So this entire series had the rogues gallery of Batman characters. Everyone was represented here. So it was kind of neat to see how they pieced it all together. So without any further ado, I'm going to get started. Now, I know what you're thinking. Yes, I also wear reading glasses. So I'm just going to slip those on over the old gauze here. All right, so let me share my screen, and we'll get started going through this thing. Okay, here you've got that spectacular cover. And you've got Robin, well, the skeleton of Robin on the cover. And that red, it really pops. So in the first panel, you've got, throughout this series, whenever they've done a flashback, it's been this watercolor, kind of soft. Someone else even mentioned it's not really Jim Lee's style. It's a lot softer. So in that first panel, you've got, it's a flashback. It's when Jason Todd died. Next panel, he's very much alive. And he's asking, he's angry, obviously. He's obviously angry that, hey, you've got blood on your hands. How could you let me die? And hey, are you willing to let another Robin die? So what you got here is you got Jason Todd, and then you got Tim Drake, who's the current Robin. And let me just say, in that last panel, Jason Todd looks fantastic to have been dead for over 30 years. Wouldn't you agree? Looks fantastic. So moving on, this panel is really interesting. So Jason Todd asked Batman, like, hey, are you willing to let another one die? Catwoman springs in, distracts Jason Todd, knocks the Batarang out of Jason Todd's hands. Now, if you look in that tall first panel there, you'll notice Catwoman springs off of a tombstone. And on that tombstone, it says something to the effect of, in loving memory, and then it says the first two letters of the first name, GW, second two letters of the last name, ST. And you start thinking, you're like, there's the trade paperback has an annotated section that's actually done by Jim Lee. And he says, here lies Gwen something, right? All the famous comics deceased are interred in Gotham. So he actually put a tombstone for Gwen Stacy in that first panel. I wonder how many folks who have read this over and over again did not realize that Jim Lee did that in this first panel on this particular book. So very interesting. Very telling. So Catwoman distracts Jason Todd. Batman jumps in, and they fight a bit. And I think Batman's still kind of confused about what's going on. At this point, Catwoman and Batman kind of have a thing going. So she's the loving, supportive girlfriend at this point. I think Tim Drake's a little jealous of their relationship. So but he's also like, he's vested in Batman as well. So they're duking it out and kind of going back and forth. And, you know, Jason Todd is mentioning, like, you saw me as second rate. You never thought I was good enough. And he's just really putting it on Batman. And this panel, I mean, look at this panel. It's fantastic. The perspective on this panel is amazing. So Jason Todd asks, how could you let me die? And they're duking it out and going back and forth. Batman finally, he grabs a batarang, sticks Jason Todd in the leg, and gets him off of him, fights him a bit. And this whole time, Batman is trying to figure out exactly what is going on here. So he fights him a bit. Next panel, they continue to battle it out. And Batman says, then you already know, thinking what we do is a game is what got Robin killed. He's kind of trying to stir the pot a little bit to get to the bottom of, like, is this really who this guy says he is? So Jason Todd springs off. Batman goes in tow. Catwoman's thinking about following. And Tim Drake says, look, you need to let him handle it. This is his thing. And, you know, Catwoman's trying to be supportive. But Tim Drake says, look, Jason's death still haunts Batman. And if that wasn't so, how could he prominently display his costume in the Batcave if that weren't so? So she, you know, she says, hey, you know, I think she kind of understands and lets him go on his way. She won't be lurking too far behind, though. So they keep battling it out. Jason Todd's saying, you know, hey, you know, I was expecting a little more. And Jason Todd mentions, remember, someone cut your bat line, referring to the very first book in the series where Batman falls, and he actually falls into, if you check out the top of this panel here, he falls into the very same alley where he first met Jason Todd. And Jason was stealing the tires off the Batmobile. He's going to leave the Batmobile on cinder blocks. So he's stealing the tires. Batman takes him in, and, you know, the rest, of course, is history. So they're face-to-face battling, and Jason Todd says, putting all the clues together, huh? I can say I didn't give you a sporting chance. And Batman mentions, you may have a lot of facts, personal history, anecdotes. You may even set up all those incidents to echo what happened in the past. But, next panel, you are not the Robin who died. So Batman's starting to put it together. So they're battling, and Batman's just really going at him because he realizes, like, this is not Jason Todd. So Batman's really going at him here. And Jason says, I think this was a critical error for whomever is trying to portray Jason Todd. Very critical error here. He says, in that middle panel, next to the last panel towards the bottom, I only wanted to be loved, Batman. And Batman responds, that was the mistake you made. Even in the end, Jason knew how much I loved him. And there again, we have this panel, Jason Todd as Robin, Batman in tow. And in that watercolor style, so it's obviously a flashback. And this is beautifully done. You can still see the pencil marks underneath the watercolor. It's a fantastic job. But Batman mentions, I could never forget you, Jason. He couldn't. So in the bottom, after he reflects, he's holding clothes and that's it. And he sees clay residue. Like, okay. So Robin's like, Tim Drake Robin is like, hey, did you know all along? And he said, well, no, not at first, but he started piecing it together. Like Jason Todd would never have called him Batman. He would have called him Bruce. And, Bruce Wayne, Batman starts piecing all this stuff together and figures out that it's actually Clayface and not Jason Todd returned from the dead. So Catwoman shows up and they discuss things. And they're still trying to figure out if they trust each other, if they can trust each other, and how does this work, this dynamic. They're still trying to figure all that out. So Batman says, hey, the person or persons who did this or who are responsible they're still out there. So he goes to see Oracle and she's done some things and she's asking like, hey, when you first got injured, you were pretty out of it. And she's going through here like, what made you think of Tommy Elliott when all this happened? And he's like, why? And he said, he's the best. And she is analyzing some data and comes up with something that we don't quite know yet. And I won't ruin it because it's going to be revealed in the next issue. But she's done some research and starting to piece together clues of who this mystery person is who's lining up all this rogues gallery of, Batman villains. She's starting to piece it together. So we move on. And so Batman goes to Gotham City Bridge and he's like, I didn't think you'd have the courage to show up. And he goes there and it's Harold, who is Harold Allnut, Batman's engineer and mechanic. And he comes to find out like Harold was he was homeless, he was a loner. Batman took him in, but he was a brilliant engineer and could work on things in the Batcave. So Batman took him in. Now Harold at one time could not speak, and he said, "Hey, obviously he had been betrayed. He's the one who helped set Batman up." And Harold basically says, I was promised things, and as he's talking, he's giving Batman information, and all of a sudden, bottom panel, blam, blam. And who's standing there? None other than Hush. So finally, Batman sees the one who's been running through things behind the scenes this entire time. Batman finally comes face to face with him. So there you have it, folks. Now, one of the things I liked about this run, because as I had mentioned, I had not read this before. I didn't have the books. I just went with the trusty trade paperback, but I did not have this previously, so I was excited to be able to read through it. I basically targeted like a book a day and went through and to see. I guess I can take these off now. Went through to, but I really liked how, I think one of my favorite things about this whole run was Jim Lee is a master storyteller. And what I mean by that is he can tell a story without having to write words. some of the movements in his books. The words were very minimal, and they were used only to they were really only used to fill in the story where it couldn't be told, otherwise, or just filler. So his panels, the way he draws leads you through the story. Very little words are needed. And I really like that about it because I'm a visual person. I enjoy the graphics. I enjoy the dynamics of the characters, and that was really cool to see. So it was an honor to be able to do this. I was super excited to when I was asked, when TyloxTheMighty asked me. I'm going to put a link in the description below I'm going to do all the previous videos. And then, of course, Tylox is doing the final video, so there will also be a link to his video. But I encourage you, if you have not kept up with this, go back and check it out. It's phenomenal. All the guys did a great job. They're a lot more technologically advanced than me. Hey, what can I say? I'm a brain surgeon. I don't have time to do YouTube videos and such. So, I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you'll click the thumbs up and the subscribe down there. And thanks for checking it out. And make sure you go back and check out these other videos. Take care.